Stardew Valley is probably the most intense game of all time. It's got farming, and combat, and relationships with complete strangers, and even a mouse that sells hats. But what if you didn't want to be a farmer? Can you beat Stardew Valley without planting any crops? Let's, right now, just the two of us, clarify what I mean when I say beat Stardew Valley, because unlike most games, there is no definitive point where you beat Stardew Valley, where the final credits roll. There are a couple different late game tasks you could complete to consider yourself having beaten the game, but for the purposes of this video, I just want to complete the community center. If you can do that, you've probably got yourself a pretty decent farm, have gotten some Iridium tools, and are well acquainted with the neanderthals infesting the town. Now, to even have a chance at making this challenge work, we're gonna have to cheat a little. An age-old exploit got patched, but we can still mess with a few things to accomplish our goal of taking over Pelican Town. If you want to make these exploits work, there are a couple important things you need to do before you begin. First, buy a Mac. Stardew Valley is a gamer's game, and you need a real deal gaming machine to handle everything we're gonna throw at it. Don't try this on a PlayStation or an Xbox or God forbid one of those stupid Windows computers you have to put together yourself. If I wanted to put shit together, I'd buy a shelf. But I'm here to break Stardew Valley in half and fuck the giant crevice that rips the town in half. Now that we understand each other, the real game can begin. The first exploit stems from your character name. Every item in this game has an ID associated with it, and someone found out that if you put one of those item IDs in your name, you'll get that item anytime someone says your name in-game. Generally, when doing this, you'd want to go with some item to sell for quick money and two kinds of valuable seeds, but because I have no interest in putting my favorite hoe to work early in the morning, I didn't cheat any seeds into my inventory. I went with a star drop, a prismatic shard, and a Rocky Mountain candy cane. I'll explain what those three items do in a minute, if you're like cowboy hat and a cubicle guy and can't figure it out for yourself. After arriving in Stardew Valley, meeting a few townspeople, and getting my name said twice, I was ready to use the second exploit. This one hasn't been patched yet, and might be the easiest to use exploit I've ever seen in any game, including any of the Fallouts or Skyrim. Use your axe to chop down trees until you've got 50 wood. Collect any sap or stones or plant fibers you get along the way. Construct a chest, and put the item you want to duplicate in that chest. In my case, I did it with a Rocky Mountain candy. Fill your inventory, open the chest, and move the dupe item over to the organize button and press it a bunch of times. Your item will then duplicate itself out onto the floor, and that's it. You basically now have an infinite supply of any item you want. Almost. There is a catch. Stardew Valley can stack items up to 999 times per item box. So if you tried to combine two stacks of 600, you'd have one with 999 and one with 201. But if you do that with the items you multiplied, you might go from two stacks of 600 to one stack of 50. Why? I don't know, but it's something you should be aware of. On day 1, I did this glitch a disgusting number of times, dropping prismatic shards and Rocky Mountain candy canes into the shipping box by the thousands. You can't do it with star drops, because you use them immediately once you select them. I also went around town, giving prismatic shards to everyone I saw. This is why I chose the special space balls as one of my items. They're loved by just about everyone in the town, except Haley. That fat doesn't like rocks in her pockets. She doesn't want rocks anywhere on her person. The only rock she wants in her is the rock. Back at the farm, I slept just as Jesus did the day after he got crucified, saw my massive payday from the tens of thousands of valuable candies I sold, and awoke to almost 35 million gold in my savings account. Now I know how Jeff Bezos feels. Now, with realistically more money than you would ever need in 25 in-game years, I got to work, because this is where the real game begins. To complete the community center, you'll need an assortment of items from every aspect of this game: fishing, farming, mining, foraging, combat, raising animals, and earning gold. Some are harder to get than others, and the items you need are oftentimes restricted to a specific season. If you didn't grow a cauliflower in the spring, guess what? Go f*** yourself. Wait until next year. Day 2 was largely the same as day 1. I ran around town giving gifts to everyone I could find, and was going to have the town carpenter get started on my animal raisery, but the was nowhere to be found. Before heading back home, I used my pile of infinite money to buy a couple hundred pieces each of iron ore, flint coal, and gold ore. They'll be useful later in life, as will the fish catching stick I got from Willy One Willy. I returned to the construction store when Robin bothered to give a damn about the town, bought wood and stone, had her begin construction on the barn in my yard, went to bed at 10 a.m. like a productive member of society, chopped down a few living wooden poles to raise my foraging skill just a tad, gave more gifts around town, and started fishing. In my experience, having put about 350 hours in this game, catching the fish for the community center is usually the hardest part. Certain fish can appear anywhere, but the majority of them will only appear at certain water sources at a certain time in a certain season, and even then, if you're not there at the right time, it's still pretty random as to whether you get the fish you want or not. Alternatively, you can buy your way to success by siding with the corporations and f***ing over the little people. It's a good thing I live in America, where that kind of thing never happens. But seeing as I had milliards of gold, the corporate route seemed too easy. Day 5 was a big day. It's the first time we have access to the traveling merchant. She, he, it, the horses, sells just about every item in the game. However, she only sells 10 to 12 at any given time. She only shows up on Friday and Saturday, and some of the items are more likely to appear than others. With dozens and dozens of different items she could have for sale and how infrequently she appears, it's unlikely that you'll ever find exactly what you want from her. But it can still get you some valuable items early on. In my case, I got a sweet pea and a big green fish. Day 6 saw me buy my first animals for my farm. I f***ed up here. That item ID name exploit I used at the beginning of the game can be used on farm animals as well. You will only get the item one time because animals automatically play on hardcore mode and get one life, but they're so disposable, sorry PETA, that you can buy 4 cows with weird names to get any 4 items you want, dump them down the garbage disposal, or feed them to a clown's shadow puppet and buy 4 more to get 4 more items. That would be a really easy way to complete the community center. I'm mentioning this now because I used the first 4 cows I bought to get 2 animal products and crops that I thought I'd have a hard time finding, but I never used them. I left them in a chest and eventually threw them away. Later that day, the mayor introduced me to the community center. I gave my axe to the blacksmith and had Robin start working on my chicken coop. Day 7, bought a few things from the traveling cart with the help of the fish box I didn't yet have access to. What does that mean? What the f*** have I written here? Met Farengar the court wizard, added a few things to the construction bundle in the crate room of the community center. Then a few more after a trip home, cosplayed as God, and awoke on day 8, also known as the day I got my shaft wet. The first time was when I went fishing, got water all over the thing. The second time was in the mines, with the blood of my enemies. Mainly just the people who call me an alcoholic. The mines are filled with rocks to break and monsters to kill. Both have a small chance at dropping some random artifact or mineral as they're destroyed. These various pieces of slime and intestine jump ropes are used in community center bundles. Early on, you'll be finding items that you need every time you manage to forget that your giant nose takes up 20% of your field of view at any given moment. On my way home, I helped a wheelchair shoo away a raccoon, and slept wonderfully, covered in the dirt and the stink of Linus. My main objective for the next few days was getting to floor 120 in the Minecraft. The magic rock candy provides a number of benefits that make this easier. It gives you more luck, which makes it more likely that you'll find the way down to the next floor in one of the rocks. It ups your attack and defense and effectively restores all your health and energy. If anything, because of the exploits I used, this is easier than it would have been in a standard playthrough. Spring 10, spring being the season we're in, 10th being the day, was the day I first upgraded one of my tools, on the 10th day of a month. You need a giant copper axe body spray to kill the big lumps of logs hibernating on your land. The copper poisons their soul, condemning them to an endless afterlife stuck in a wood chipper while also rendering the mortal shell they left behind extra hard. It makes hardwood, is what I mean. And hardwood is needed for a bundle. I also went ahead and processed a few geodes to get my hands on more artifacts and minerals. In my experience, they don't usually get you something for the community center, but they're worth doing because the more items you donate to the museum, the bigger the librarian's ego becomes, and you get stuff for donating. And speaking of starting sentences with the word and, if you were wondering, I'm not gonna go over every day. It would take too long. From here on out, it's just the highlights, the greatest hits, the moments from this playthrough that'll be played back at my funeral when my liver fails. By the pre-evening of the 11th, I'd finished collecting enough fishy items to complete a single bundle in the fish tank. This unlocks the boiler room, which is the second easiest room to finish. I'd only spent a day or two in the mines with my pickaxe in some sort of motion, and I'd already had about half of what I needed. I named my dog after my own. On the 13th, I completely ignored the festival in town in favor of spending the unlucky 13th day of the year under the ground like a mole. That evening, I unlocked the main office room. To complete this room, you buy 3 bundles for a total of like 88,000 gold. Done in an instant. Then I f***ed up. I accidentally backed out of the reward screen before I stuck my Chuck E. Cheese ticket into the safe to claim my prize, meaning the lightning rod and crystallarium were out of my reach forever. I really didn't need them, but it still pissed me off that it happened. I briefly considered spawning them in with that animal name exploit, just wasn't worth the effort in my opinion. But what was worth it was cheating again. I duped myself about 160 geodes and processed them all. Yeah, I cheated in a run that was only hypothetically possible because of a glitch. If that bothers you, leave. My time spent in the mines was made easier when I offered a prismatic shard to the desert camel gods in exchange for a purple sword. The traveling cart finally gave me something valuable, a fruit. Without impregnating the ground with a specific flavor of seed, you're gonna have a hard time getting any fruit. By spring 16, I'd done 2 big things. I upgraded my inventory to a total of 36 slots. I was pretty much done with the duplication glitch, and I completed the boiler room, meaning 2 of the 6 rooms are complete. Those were the 2 easiest by far. The next day, I would reach the bottom of the mine, which rewarded me with the Skull Key to get into the Skull Tavern out in the desert. You would usually spend a lot of time there to get Iridium that you'd use to make sprinklers and high-quality tools and other late-game items. I don't recall why it was I went out there the first time. My best guess is museum stuff that I didn't necessarily need. By the 19th day of spring, I'd gotten my coop built and could send my little feathered cocks to their new home. In the night, my farming skill increased to level 1. You might be wondering why that happened at all, if the powerful and shockingly loving government took away my right to grow my own food. Petting your animals and pretending to care about them will slowly increase the skill over time. Spring 2020 and 21 were all about fishing. This was not a fun time. The problem was not me being unlucky. I did manage to catch a few fish that I needed. The issue at play here is, well, the person playing. For reasons mere mortals can't understand, I thought the giant pond to the south of the farm was the mountain lake, despite the fact that I've seen the mountain area to the north. I'd also f***ed past me by selling or throwing away the largemouth bass I got from the traveling cart. What I'd done in regards to the mountain lake thing was spend the better part of multiple days fishing in an area where what I was looking for never existed. After the devastating defeat I'd suffered at the hands of my own mind, I gave Robin a bunch of wood in exchange for a bigger living habitat for my cocks, and headed back to the mine in search of more artifacts. I had no further need for minerals in the community center, but after you donate 60 items to the museum, the head museum gives you a key to the sewers, and there's a little puppet living down there who sells you odds and ends. See, at this point, I still had no idea I'd been fishing in the area. What do I mean when I write these words? The little guy, Krobus is his name, can occasionally sell fish. He was going to be my secret weapon to get every fish I could ever wish for. After another day in the mines, I ordered a few sacrificial goats from Jeff Bezos' personal stash and attempted a pro gamer move. One of the materials I need is cloth. To get cloth, you can process wool, but you need sheep for that. Or you can knock a few skeletons on their ass and stick dynamite up their pelvis. For some reason, they can drop cloth when you kill them that way. I decided to take another shot at fishing with newfound knowledge of how animals work. That was a lie. I was still as lost as ever. This was actually when I started getting angry, and I knew why I was feeling that way. You see, what had happened was I failed to notice something. I was unaware that this was where the real game begins. It should have been obvious. If I knew the training wheels had come off, I'd have taken off my helmet to utilize more of my brain power. This is where things finally started turning around for me. No, it wasn't. The little bit of good news was that I was ready for the last chicken hut upgrade, which meant I was nearing the finish line as far as animal products go. As such, I gave one of the little bunnies I bought an appropriate name. All I'll say about that is that I need a lucky rabbit's foot, and one way or another, I'm gonna get me that foot. I gave a second bunny a similar name. The third I named after the teacher from Jimmy Neutron, and the fourth I named after my 4th grade teacher because I'd be more than happy to saw both her feet off with a dull saw. Don't worry, she deserves it. It took me until the 6th day of summer to finally figure out what the mountain lake was. Conveniently, On that same day, it was raining, so I managed to get a red snapper, a chud for the chef bundle, and a bullhead. The next day, I found a cheese press in a sunken treasure chest, which would be used to make, guess what, cheese. I also caught a largemouth bass and a sturgeon. With those new fish caught, I only needed 3 more fish, none of which I could catch in the summer. Over the following couple days, I didn't do much besides sleep and pet all my children stuck in their pens. I completed the artisan bundle using fruit I bought from the traveling cart and some cheese, dropped a purple water slug into the soup, bought another vegetable from the cart, bought a couple hundred mega bombs from the dwarf, and spent an afternoon treating the underground skull cavern as my own personal nuclear bomb testing ground. I got a lot of shit from the number of creatures I killed and rocks I blew up, but despite making it down past floor 80, not much of what I found was useful to me. The couple dozen geodudes were probably the best thing I found. But I did strike aquatic gold with the traveling cart who had a walleye, a fish you can normally only catch in the fall when it's raining. We're nearing the endgame now. One of my rabbits was so unloved that it chewed its own leg off in hopes of getting noticed by its owner. I only needed 1 more fish, 2 cooked items that were easy to get, a forage item found in the winter, and the crops. With 1 more trip to the mines under my belt, I had enough items to donate to earn the rusty key and could finally shop with Krobus. The first time he didn't have anything useful, so I only bought the return scepter that allows you to teleport back to your farm from anywhere. I bought a raw fish roll from the saloon to knock out another community center item, got the fried fish from my kitchen after upgrading my house, finished the winter foraging bundle early thanks to the mines and the shopping cart, which did a whole lot of nothing as I waited for summer to turn into fall because I knew shit was really gonna kick off as we approached the end of the year. Caught myself a tiger trout on the first day of fall, completed the fish tank, and the real game began. The only items I needed are crops, but I had a plan. There was nothing else I needed to do. Whether my animals starved to death or ate each other was none of my concern, so I could simply sleep until it was Friday or Sunday and chuck the traveling cart for fruits and veg. I also got Robin to start on a barn as a failsafe. But there's a problem. Winter went by in the blink of an eye. Now we're back into the spring. I've chucked the traveling cart about 35 times by now, and I still needed a potato, some combination of 5 gold parsnips, melons, tomatoes, or corn, a single tomato, hot pepper, blueberry, melon, and eggplant. All the other fruits and vegetables I managed to find in the traveling cart over the course of an in-game year. But there's a problem here that I never even considered. I assumed that even in the worst case scenario, I could use the name exploit to get everything I needed. But that's not the case. The quality of a crop is not something up for debate when spawning in a crop using its ID in an animal name. You get the base crop, that's it. You can't use that exploit to get any kind of a rare crop. And, to make matters worse, there are a few things the traveling cart will never sell. Among them are the gold quality crops needed to complete the community center. Now, I absolutely could have kept going back to the merchant every Friday and Sunday until I got all the non-gold crops I needed, but knowing that no matter what I did, the challenge would end in failure, I didn't see the point. To that end, on a rainy Friday afternoon, I made a deal with the devil to take over Pelican Town. The community center was converted into a Joja-Cola warehouse. On some level, the community center was complete, as this is a way to complete it. Nevertheless, I did not beat Stardew Valley without planting any crops. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything, leave a like. Leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy the video or didn't learn anything. Thanks to the champion tier supporters as well as other channel members for making videos like this one possible. Join the Mitten Squad official Sometimes Ratatouille server, Christian fan club, through a link in the video description. Follow me on Twitter at Mitten Squad. My name is Paul of Mitten Squad. Have a wonderful day.